You're listening to Procurement 6, the weekly podcast from the team at Art of Procurement that summarizes this week in procurement in just 6 short segments.
Hi there, I'm Kelly Barner, and today is Friday, April 22nd, 2022. Welcome to this week's Procurement 6.
6.
This week's Procurement 6 is proudly brought to you by the team at Art of Procurement, who remind you that you don't have to be confined by old school ways. Procurement professionalized in an era where optimizing supplier spend meant maintaining an obsessive focus on price while acting as an internal gatekeeper against non-compliant purchasing. While this may be important for some companies, we believe that procurement has the potential to make an even bigger impact. By skillfully aligning the power of the supply base with the needs of the stakeholders they serve, procurement can be a competitive differentiator. But it isn't easy, and it needs a modern approach. One that positions procurement as a strategic services business within a business, rather than a functional silo. To learn more, visit artofprocurement.com and access our many free resources.
5.
In this week's podcast, we've packed up one of the most interesting sessions from our recent Digital Outcomes virtual event. Helen McKenzie was joined by Johan Raunig, a partner at McKinsey, to talk about the idea of procurement's digital destiny. What I liked best from this session is an excerpt that actually has nothing to do with digital at all. Let's listen, and then I'll share my thoughts.
I think procurement is on a pivotal point across industry, across companies. If you look on where do we stand, where is procurement standing? And this is for sure amplified now with the volatility, the inflation, and also the crisis what we have in Europe. Procurement is in a pivotal point to decide: do I want to go all in so that I can cover and can cope with these new challenges, the volatility, the inflation, and so on what I have, or do I want to not go all in and then go a second route, which means outsourcing and probably dialing down on the procurement. So I'm advocating for going all in, but this is a decision what each company needs to take. And all in means for me to attack the disruption, what we will discuss here, to double down on experience, to double down on people, to double down on tools, to double down on digital, and really set up a procurement organization who is capable of dealing with the challenges ahead of us on volatility, inflation, and so on, because it is needed to go beyond commercial levers now to drive impact.
That one question, do I want to go all in, is so critical. Obviously, the answer is important, but so is procurement's ability to be decisive. We live and work in very uncertain times. Making decisions is getting scarier by the day, but someone has to do it. Hopefully, the company where you work has a healthy attitude about failure and course corrections. Both are going to be inevitable for the foreseeable future. You can hear the full conversation between Helen and Johan on artofprocurement.com or subscribe wherever you choose to listen to podcasts.
4.
This week on the Art of Procurement blog, Philip Eidson summarized the key takeaways from an executive roundtable we hosted with the team at Globality in the days following our Digital Outcomes event. One of the things he shared, and that really resonates with me, is that there are never going to be enough people, and there's never going to be enough time to do all the work that we want to do. Faced with that reality, procurement will have to make some tough choices. We're back to the importance of being decisive, as Johan Raunig pointed out earlier. What should we automate? What can we distribute out to the business? If procurement can start by agreeing upon and articulating where they want to spend their time, then moving the activities that don't make the cut becomes a much more straightforward effort.
This is Procurement 6 from Art of Procurement. To get notified every time an episode is published, go to artofprocurement.com/subscribe. 3.
Art of Procurement is one of 3 companies, along with Supply Chain Now and Buyers Meeting Point, collaborating to host the 2022 Supply Chain and Procurement Awards. After months of planning and a very hectic week gathering all of the award nominations into a format where the judges can review them and, of course, make their final decisions, the outcome is in their hands. Whew, we made it. While the judges do their work, the rest of us can start looking forward to joining in at the live award ceremony to find out who the winners are and celebrate their achievements as a professional community. The award ceremony will be a live stream hosted on Supply Chain Now's channel from 10 a.m. to 12 noon Eastern on May 18th. We will be joined by Tim Nelson, the CEO of Hope for Justice, our philanthropy partner for the awards. If your company has an ESG program, chances are you are concerned about the possibility of human trafficking and modern slavery in your supply chain. Tim is a passionate advocate and tireless worker in the fight against these horrible circumstances, and I promise that he will fill you with hope for justice at the event. Check the links on today's episode page to register and save your spot on the 18th.
2.
And now for something completely different. Most general business stories these days have an inflation angle to them, but that isn't the only disruptive trend hitting the economy right now. Commodity futures markets are all over the map, and they aren't just affecting investors. On April 12th, an article ran in the Wall Street Journal titled, "Chaotic Trading in Energy, Metals, and Food Spills into the Real World." The general gist of the article is that commodities markets, not even futures, have been wildly unpredictable for multiple reasons. Tariffs, plus COVID, plus supply chain snafus, plus wild spikes in consumer demand, plus a war in Eastern Europe. The more unpredictable a commodity is in the short term, the more unpredictable it will be in the future. Hedging starts to become an unworkable strategy because we have no reasonable certainty that the future trading price will cover the price paid on the original trade date. And investing also becomes a lot less attractive. That has reduced the number of traders buying and selling commodities, which means that a single large trade can actually cause a huge swing in the market price. There isn't enough volume being traded to absorb and average that all out. Some traders are breaking their transactions up into smaller pieces. Now, some of these cost increases are going to have to be passed along to consumers, which is never good news. Unless, of course, procurement can swoop in and save the day by finding other ways to offset the hopefully temporary commodity increases.
1.
On April 27th, we will be joined by Dr. Adrian de Groot-Ruiz, Executive Director at the Impact Institute, and Brian Baum, Head of Supply Chain Solutions, Sourcing and Procurement at Anaplan, for an AOP Live session on connected planning for financial outcomes and sustainability. They will answer live audience questions about vision, strategy, and action. So, why should procurement teams be concerned with driving financial outcomes? What does this mean for their relationships with finance and operations? How can we ensure that our planning efforts meet or exceed performance expectations and also support sustainability initiatives? And finally, what data and system support are required to set us up for success? Where can we leverage automation and benchmarking? And of course, how do we shift thinking to proactive procurement planning? To make sure you don't miss out on this fascinating conversation, register today and you will be prompted to submit your own questions either in advance of the event or live on the day of. Just go to artofprocurement.com/calendar to find out more. And you can find all of the links associated with the stories mentioned today at the show notes page for this episode at artofprocurement.com/podcast.
Thanks for listening. We'll be back next Friday at 6 a.m. U.S. Eastern Time. If you've enjoyed this pod, help us grow and tell your peers to search for Procurement 6 wherever they get their podcasts.